It was a beautiful day. All the engines were at the docks. Sir Topham Hatt was at the docks too. He had an announcement for the engines. Today, our new engine is to arrive to the island this afternoon. He is very inexperienced. At least, that's what I know of. Do you know anything about him, sir? No, I do not know anything about him, not even his appearance. Inexperienced? It must be a tank engine. No, not exactly, Gordon. It could be even maybe a diesel. I hope not. We have enough diesels already. Look, said Edward. The freighter, it's here. Indeed, it was the new engine's arriving ship. Wooden Railway Only Productions, in association with Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, Tales from the Rails, proudly presents Operation Domination. Once the ship had docked, Cranky's crane was soon attached to the engine inside the freighter, and soon enough, the engine was revealed to the public. The engine dangled from Cranky's crane. He didn't like it, and he was excited to get onto the rails. What? A tender engine? Inexperienced? It's possible, exclaimed Edward, because we all were at one point. Quite right, replied Henry, remembering the time he got locked up in a tunnel. Once the engine was unloaded, he introduced himself to all the engines. Hello, I'm Big City Engine. Glad to be part of your railway. Hello, replied all the engines. Nice to meet you. Not to be rude, exclaimed Percy, but is your name really Big City Engine? Yes, I was. I was never actually given a proper name. For short, people like to call me BCE, so can you. Well, it's a pleasure for us to have you on our railway. Please, have Thomas show you around. Okay, said Thomas, let's go. I have so much to show you. And so the two puffed out of the docks. What a kind engine. Yes, he may be inexperienced on rail riding, but definitely not in manners. Meanwhile, Thomas was showing BCE around the island. You have such kind manners. I'm so fond of you already. Thanks. It's just polite to have manners and helps you with new friends. Thomas laughed. He hadn't seen such a character in years. Soon, Thomas and BCE arrived at the airport. Here's the airport, exclaimed Thomas, where many passengers arrived to the island. Jeremy is at the mainland collecting passengers right now. Just as Thomas had said his words, Norman came racing by. A sea of diesels? Are they friendly? Some are evil. As in the legend of Diesel 10? He's still in our railway, just he's completely forgotten about Lady after his tremendous fall. No, don't go reminding him, said Thomas sarcastically to BCE. They both started to laugh and puffed away. They rounded a bend to have Thomas find, hey look, there's some more other engines in the yards. Come on, let's go meet them. And so they did. Ha 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 ha, said a voice behind Jeremy's hangar. Looks like Operation Domination is a go. And with that, the oily voice strolled down the line. Thomas and BCE finished their tour at the bay. Hey, good question, asked Thomas. I thought Topham had said you were inexperienced. That is quite true. I am inexperienced with coaches and trucks and everything like that, but I know how to ride the rails. Here, I'll give you a whistle. And he did. You're such a kind engine, said Thomas. Come on, let's get back to the sheds. Just then, BCE had a question. Hey, what are those buffers doing over there? They're serving nothing at all. Oh, you know, said Thomas, just a siding. That's all. He gulped nervously. BCE didn't believe Thomas, but he decided just to go along with it. He knew Thomas was lying by the tone of his voice. Okay, just asking some more questions about the railway. And so, they went back to the sheds. When Thomas and BCE arrived back at the sheds, they found a lavishing surprise. Welcome, BCE, exclaimed all the engines. Oh, said BCE, this is much too spoiling. You guys shouldn't have. Certainly must not. Just then, Thomas realized there was a berth left in the sheds. Here, BCE, let that be you. BC turned on the turntable and rolled into the sheds, finding it very comfortable. Thanks, everyone, he exclaimed. But let's get a good night's sleep. Tomorrow, we can get to work. So everybody obeyed, except Percy. He had to go pull the mail that night. That night, Percy took the mail. He complained to himself, I do not want to see Span Cam. I do not want to see Span Cam. He went up the mine tunnel up to the viaduct to find over in the corner. He saw two mischievous diesels. Must be brave, said Percy. Must be brave. I wonder what they're doing here. Sir, how's the plan going so far? Just fine. We haven't really kicked into full effect yet. We'll get them soon enough. Operation Domination will be a success. That's all right, sir, replied the two. Must be brave, said Percy, but he couldn't take it. And with that, he stormed off the viaduct. Meanwhile, Stepney was returning home. He had went on the wrong points and went into the Bay Area to find Splatter, Dodge, and D199 there. Hey, it's an engine. Get him! Oh, said the Splatter and Dodge. Go, go, go! Stepney raced back, and the two diesels chased after him. Stepney raced backwards. He was scared to get caught, and the two diesels raced after. Lucky enough, the signalman was still awake and divided Stepney into another line, as the two diesels hit the points wrong and came off the track. Soon, their boss arrived. You buffoons! How could you let him get away? Sorry, boss, he said. The points were switched somehow. There must be some signalman awake. The signal box light turned off as soon as Splatter and Dodge said that. That could have been our first capture, said the oily voice. All right, we shall find him again. Come on, I'll get you back onto the rails. The next morning came and Percy came to the sheds. You're never going to believe what happened last night, said Percy to all the other engines. What? Asked Thomas. I saw Splatter, Dodge, and D199 over near the magic buffers. What, Percy? That's impossible. You must have had a hallucination from the night before. This is all your imagination. You know those guys aren't on the railway. But they are. I truly saw them. I saw them chase after Stepney. Said Thomas. I'll go ask Stepney right away. Make sure everybody else stays here, because the other engines were still asleep. Thomas found Stepney at Elsbridge Station, and he asked him the question. Stepney, did anything happen, weird last night? Said Stepney. Yes, something did. Splatter and Dodge are on the railway, as well as D199. I'm not sure where they are, but they were over near the bay. Oh, said Thomas. Percy was right. You must not tell anybody about this. You must not let them freak out. Agreed, said Stepney. I haven't told anybody. But did Percy tell you? He came rushing into the sheds. Luckily, none of the other engines heard. Suddenly, an eavesdropper came in. D199, on the railway. Ha! That's preposterous. Sent away a long time ago. Probably scrapped. Would you want to be too? Be quiet, Diesel 10. We all know you wouldn't scrap us now. I have no idea what happened that one time. That magical engine is probably still out there. I must have my memory erased or something like that. You're probably right, said Thomas. Diesel 10 went away. He is right, said Thomas. His memory was erased by Lady. Oh, said Stepney. That explains a lot. Indeed it does. Remember, make sure no one else finds out about this. And Thomas went to his regular jobs. Thomas came over to the Bay Area. He puffed near the buffers. He was about to enter, not knowing somebody stood by. Let's find out about what happens here. Thomas quickly puffed at the buffers and disappeared. Thomas came into the Magic Railroad to meet Lady there. Oh, Lady, am I glad to see you. I'm glad to see you too, Thomas. Some evil force is trying to take over. I believe it's D199, Splatter, and Dodge. I erased their memories before as they tried to take it over. I remembered. They did slam you into the water. That is true, said Thomas. But how did they arrive here? Where did they come from? The other railway buffers, of course. They somehow found them over there. Said Thomas. How did they find them, though? That's the question. They must have spent years thinking about this. thinking of where they could find the buffers here and there and how to do this. I agree, said Lady, but you'd best be careful and you best be back. I bet you D199's right around the corner from where you are. He's probably watching you with a close eye. You're right, said Thomas. I'll get back. Anyways, I gotta get to work. Thanks for talking, Lady. And with that, Thomas returned. I fear this magic railroad may be endangered. Welcome to the team, George. See that blue tank engine over there? He's the #1 problem that we have. We must search and find him, then destroy him. He's the one that could stop our plans. Alright, I'll get ready to ruin some rails. Ha ha ha. Operation Domination is even better than what I thought. Toby was passing by, and he hit a giant bad section of the track, and a whole bunch of his ballast in his train poured onto D199 and George. That was intended, right, sir? Oh, no, it wasn't. That was a good one, boss. Shut it. D199 was certainly in a mess, but the engines of the Choppermats Railway kept going. PCE met some engines in the yards. Hello there. Hello, fellow tender engine, said Hero. Glad to meet you. So apparently you're the inexperienced tender engine. Yes, I am, said BC. Well, said Hank. It doesn't matter if you're inexperienced or not. At least you're a tender engine. Yeah, said Hero. That's all that matters. Yeah, said Big City Engine. Yeah, with that, he gave Shank a giant shove off the line. Hey, partner, what was that for? It's like you're working for an evil force. Well, I am. And with that, he went to go get Hero. Soon enough, he shoved Hero off the line. Hero fought for his life, but the weight of the big engine he couldn't handle it. What was that for? Well, Spancam has a tight schedule he runs by, and I think I just completed my first task. And he trotted down the line. But how did Big City Engine come in touch with Spancam? Must have been at the other railway. Hopefully an engine can come by and pick us up pretty soon. But they didn't. Sir, you're good. 2 engines identified as Hero and Hank shoved off the line. Very well done. Now, let's go take over the Magic Railroad. This time, we'll get 'em. Alright, I'll keep the other engines occupied. Sputter, Dodge, go make sure that diesel engine over at the quarry gets here. Yes, sir. Oh yeah, and Steamer, go get that engine they still call Stepney. He's seen too much. Yes, sir. And so, BCE and Splatter and Dodge did their missions. Mavis was shutting at the quarry at the time. She brought cars into a line, and then shut. Mavis had absolutely no work to do. She just sat in a siding and waited for other engines to pass. Soon Splatter and Dodge arrived. Mavis trotted towards them. Hello there. Haven't seen you two around before. Who are you? Well, we're probably old friend of yours. You know? Yeah, since this are the two splitting apart. Yeah. Suddenly, Dodge. went straight for Mavis, and the two coupled up together and shoved her back. She was shunted back and her brakes were applied. Dodge turned around and splattered watched the whole thing roll down. Alright, we just have a simple question, Mavis. Where is Thomas the Tank Engine? Oh, I'm not sure at all. Are you sure that's true? And he shoved her back a little bit more. Yes, that's true, said Mavis. Please, the water's right there. Oh, well, we need to know where Thomas the Tank Engine is. Please tell us now. Said Mavis, I can't, because I don't know where he is. Why, said Dodge. Splatter? Do it, said Splatter. And with that, he shoved Mavis into the water. Mavis was utterly horrified. But then, she was surprised to find Splatter bring back the breakdown train. Alright, we're gonna bring you out of the water and do the same thing over and over again. Until you've reached the last stage. Mavis didn't answer any more of their questions, so they had to bring her back to the boss. Meanwhile, Stepney was filling up on water. He was tired from the night before, when all of a sudden BC came in, snapped him, and rushed away. Oh, I wonder who left the hose down. Whatever. Meanwhile, D199 wandered into the Magic Railroad. At first, Lady thought it was Thomas going through the buffers. To find out it was D199, he quickly disappeared into the other railway buffers. Could've sworn I saw an engine nearby. Looks like that lost engine is lost again. And look what they left behind for me. A nice thing of gold dust. I'll take this with me. This will come in handy. Lady soon returned to find her gold dust truck had vanished. Oh no, D199 must have taken it. That is not good at all. I must warn the other engines. But at least I stayed on this Magic Railroad. I don't know what it would do without me. That night, BC came back with Stepney. Ah, very well done, said Spancam. I see you've brought back the one that's seen too much. Let me go, whoever you are, said Stepney. Oh, you probably know who I am. And he gave out a long whistle. BC, but how? How'd you come in touch with Spancam? It's a long story, he said. Here you go. He shunted Stepney over to Spancam. Excellent. Stepney was turned around. D199 hooked up to him. Well, enjoy your ride in the Magic Railroad. It's a bit rigged in there, but enjoy it while it lasts. With that, he backed up and gave Stepney a giant shove into the Magic Railroad. He'll derail when there. Stepney rattled into the Magic Railroad, hit the point rung, and came off the rails. Lady was very surprised. What just happened? Said Stepney. I don't know, said Lady. What happened on the other side? Oh, I remember Spancam shoved me into here, and look, now I'm derailed. Something sketchy's going on, said Lady. But I best stay hidden here. That's right. Your secret's safe with me, said Stepney. I have nowhere else to go. Back on Sodor, Splatter and Dodge brought Mavis, and Spancam did the exact same thing he did to Stepney. Very well done, boss. Very well done indeed. The mail train comes tonight. This time, we catch that little puffball. Steamer, you know him best. Go get him. With this, BCE puffed down the line to get interfered with Percy's mail train. Percy was puffing through Napper Station at the time. He was making up for lost time. He puffed by a point, but all of a sudden he got shoved from behind. Something coupled up to him. Percy felt a heavy weight, and all of a sudden he was being tugged backwards. Well, hey, what's going on? You mail trucks don't have any kick. Percy was soon brought to the Spancam. BC, I can't believe you would do this. Oh, I'd do it. Just for an old friend, of course. Old friend? Oh, yes. Well, we met on the other railway a long time ago. And, well, we saved each other. It's a long story, but you'll hear it a different time. What are you going to do with me, said Percy. Oh, only this, said Spancam. With another giant shove, the coupling was snapped between Percy and the mail trucks. He disappeared. into the Magic Railroad. Alright, get rid of these scrap cars here. Tomorrow we have a couple more engines we need to hunt down. And this time we will catch Thomas, the tank engine. Early the next morning, Stafford went to the battery charging station to charge his battery. He hummed to himself as he was hooked up. What a gorgeous day. What a gorgeous day, he said to himself. I bet you nothing could go wrong. All of a sudden, something did go wrong as he was towed away by some random engine. Then later that day, Emily was racing to her job, while somebody was racing after her. She was just about to merge onto the main line, when suddenly from behind her, Spancam came up and snatched her and raced back to the buffers. Stafford and Emily were both shunted in. That morning, Thomas was helping Stanley the long line of freight cars. It was of old rocks and gravel of any sort. The two struggled up the hill. Their wheels slipped and slid against the rails. The trucks did not want to give up easily. My, these trucks are heavier than the time I had to pull 10 by myself at Great Waterton. Agreed, there might not be as many cars, but they certainly are heavy. Just then, in the corner of Thomas's eye, he saw something. Percy's mail cars. On Captain's shed. What are those doing here? I don't know, said Stanley. That is quite weird. Did Percy ever return last night? No, actually he didn't. Something's fishy. The two struggled around the island, noticing some engines were missing. Stafford should usually be at his battery charging station right now. And Emily should be pulling her train at Great Waterton. Something is definitely up. Then, while passing past the yards, what about Stepney? He should be here by now. He should be shunting my train for the afternoon, said Thomas. Thomas and Stanley's long train soon arrived at the clay pits, but they were both confused why Stone was supposed to arrive to the clay pits. Gator was showing by when Thomas asked him, Gator, why is Stone being arrived here? Oh, I think Stone has some extension ideas. Maybe a station or something. Don't be so daft, Gator, said Marion round in the corner. I'm sure it will be something about digging. Whatever it is, said Timothy above. He has plans on it. Then Fergus rounded the bend, and Thomas asked him one more question. Have any of you guys seen Percy? Or even Emily? Or even Stafford? No, said Fergus. Not here. It's always the same engines. It's me, Marion over there, Gator, Timothy, Bill, and Ben. Oh, great, said Ben. More trucks to shunt. Hooray. They cause any trouble, Thomas? Asked Bill from the back. No, not really, said Stanley, but you guys better get shunting them. And they were uncoupled from the train. As the twins shunted the trucks, Thomas and Stanley thought long and hard about where the engines could be. Could they be at the scrapyard, said Stanley. Nah, there's no one around to take them. Anyways, I don't believe that would happen to so many engines. Maybe they're on the Little Western line. Oh yeah, haven't checked there yet. Sorry to interrupt, said Marion passing by, but Bill and Ben need to shunt some trucks in that siding. She strolled back away, and Thomas and Stanley both left the clay pits. Thomas and Stanley came to the entrance of the Little Western line to find a stop sign there. But Henry was there. Henry, do you know why the Little Western line is closed? No, said Henry. I don't think anybody does. But that line's been deserted for a long time. Oliver and Duck have been working out a little bit more. For some reason, we've had a shortage of engines. Oh, said Thomas, this could explain a lot. As in shortage of Emily, Percy, Stafford? Yeah, engines like that, but we have no idea where they are. Said Thomas. There's another entrance in. I bet you that line's still open. So, Henry moved out of the way, and Thomas and Stanley continued on their adventure. The big entrance to the Little Western line was closed too. so they had to go into the very back area. Thomas and Stanley came around to the other entrance just as Norman came whooshing by with a random car. Norman, what's this car for? I don't know. It was just in the tunnel. I just hit it. Just then Thomas realized something. Why, it's a gold dust car. Who could have found that? Then it all made sense. Stanley, stay here. I know where the engines are. Thomas puffed to the bay. I wonder where he's going. Norman, would you mind exploring the Little Western Line with me? Sure thing, said Norman. It is a bit curious why it's closed. Thomas went to enter the Bay Area to find it closed with another stop sign, a cargo car, and the Calliope stacked on top of each other. I know there's another way in, but it seems to block the other line too. I have to find a way in. I know something's up over there. Stanley and Norman ventured into the Little Western Line the back way. Toby trotted into Brandon Docks. All the engines were listening to one another, while James was on over on the turntable, when all of a sudden, Spancam came into sight. He was going to take Toby when all of a sudden he bashed too hard. Toby went splashing into the sea. Oh dear, that was not intended. Sorry, young lad, but actually I'm not sorry. That works out just fine. He disappeared into the night, and Toby sank. Toby was struggling. Oh dear, someone must help. And all of a sudden, Bulstrode hit something in the water. That's quite strange. He looked around to find an old wooden thing. Let's pull it out of the water, he said. And with that, he went to go get a boat crane. Soon enough, Toby was pulled out of the water, but he was very confused. I have no idea what just happened, said Toby. Just pushed into the water. My firebox has gone out. It's going to take a long time for me to get it started again. Oh, I bet, said Bulstrode. Now you better get to the sheds. Old Porter over here will take you. Indeed, said Porter. Come on, Toby. You'll feel better soon. But Toby wasn't the only one to be attacked today. Molly was trotting along the main line and Spankin came up and gave her a giant shove. Oh no, it must be a runaway train. I must outrun it. But she was aiming right for the bay. Once Molly entered the bay, she realized this was not a runaway. Why, it's Spankin, she said. But she disappeared into the magic railroad. Then, right as Molly had been pushed in, Paxton was pulled in by Splatter and Dodge. Here you go, sir. We found him wandering around the area. Said Paxton. What's going on? I've never met you Diesels before. Oh, said Spancam. Nothing much. Just, something we call Operation Domination. Operation Domination. I've heard of that somewhere before. Just can't put my buffer on it. Spancam moved all the way. All of a sudden, George the Steamroller came in. Sir, he said, the track has been destroyed. Good. We'll see what happens to that little tank engine today as he pulls his passengers. Huh? Said Paxton from behind. You're not going to sabotage the train, are you? Oh, yes, we are, said Spancam. And you're going into the magic railroad. No, this is preposterous. You'll never get away with the plan. And his voice was murmured as he entered the magic railroad. He's an interesting one. Too bad he couldn't be on our team. We can use some more recruits, you know. We do have a little bit more. Let's go see how they're doing on the Little Western. Stanley and Norman came into the Little Western to find a big surprise. Scrap, Cars, Hank, and Hero all laid over the ground. Even Toad. That's where Toad's gone, said Stanley. Oliver's been looking for him for quite a while now. Said Diesel 10. We have orders from a special engine. You must not be here right now. How did you get in? Oh, said Sydney. I think I forgot to, put the gate back, or the stop sign over. Sydney, you let him in, you buffoon. Don't call him a buffoon, sir. You remember short-time memory loss? Yeah, said Dan. Short-time memory loss. What's that again, said Sydney. Ah, forget it, said Diesel 10. You shouldn't be here right now. Go. Stanley started to puff away, and all of a sudden he had a shove from behind, going back in. The train cattled through, pushing Dart all the way back. Thomas had a question. I need answers, he said. I need answers now. What do you wish, said Diesel 10. Who's the mastermind of this plan? I know you Diesels aren't the only ones. Someone's keeping you hypnotized or something. No, no hypnotize, said Den. Just SpanCam being mean to us, that's all. So it is true, you are taking commands from SpanCam. That's not a good engine at all. We've been here for a long time, Sir Hero. Yeah, said Hank. It's starting to get a little more landscape here. You know, a little bit more weeds, grass. Oh, shut it. Engines in the scrapyards have vines over their cabs. One more question, said Stanley. Why are you taking commands from SpanCam? Well, said Dart, you said for us to just stay here and you'll grant us with some new fuel or something. Yeah, that's it, said Den. That's it, said Stanley. Really? That is quite confusing. Oh well, that's that. Stanley puffed backwards, but Thomas still had one more question. Join our side, said Thomas. You'll become the good guys. You can help stop SpanCam. What's he planning on doing? Taking over the railway? Ha, impossible. Well, we're losing steamies and diesels everywhere. They seem to be disappearing. He did say something about the magic buffers. Again, said Dart, remembering. The magic buffers. Oh, right, said Thomas. He rushed back to the bay. He had to find a way in. Norman was very confused at what's going on, so he even asked, "What's going on here? I have no idea what's happening." I don't know. I think we just transferred over to the good side or the bad side. I don't know what side we were even on. Oh, shut it, said Dart. We're on the good side, not the bad side. We must find SpanCam at once. We must stop this madness. They all separated. Norman and Stanley went to go get Rocky. Diesel 10 went to take down some barriers, as well as Den. And Dart and Sydney went down to take the barrier to the other entrance. Thomas found his way into the bay. Secretly, there stood Splatter, Dodge, SpanCam, George, and BC. BC spotted him first. Hey, it's Thomas. Get him. Huh, said the Splatter. He went forward while the SpanCam tried to go forward too. Get out of my way. He's all mine. This gave Thomas time to escape. He rushed away. Sir, said Dodge. Wasn't he supposed to pull a train today? I believe another engine's taking the train, said BC nervously. Derek had been called to replace Thomas's train, but all of a sudden raced off the track and hit the windmill. What just happened? Suddenly realizing the track had been turned to road outside of Knapford. Why George has been here. He must be part of something. Thomas hid himself into the quarry as SpanCam, Splatter, and Dodge raced by on the other track. He quickly popped back out. Time to go find out what's in the magic railroad. And he puffed away. At the buffers, though, BCE blocked him. Thomas saw him. BCE, what are you doing here? You're not part of SpanCam's team, are you? Oh, yes, I am, said BC. He saved my life back on the other railway. But you could have started fresh here, said Thomas. Well, this is all part of his plan. He calls it Operation Domination. But seeing the cool things he's done so far, I can't stay with it anymore. I've tried to put up the act, but I can't. Thomas, I'm going to let you into the magic railroad. Now, do not tell SpanCam, or else he'll have me scrapped some way or another. Don't worry, said Thomas. My mouth is closed. He puffed into the magic buffers. George was confused on the side. I thought we were on the bad team. We are, said BC, but I'm done with this bad team. George, you know, you probably hurt somebody today. You're right, said George. Probably just an innocent engine. They both snapped out of their somewhat mean moods into nice moods. In the magic railroad, Thomas was shocked to find so many engines just laying there. And then ladies stranded in a siding. My, said Thomas. Was this all SpanCam? Don't forget Splatter, said Mavis. And Dodge, replied Paxton. We've been here for quite a long time, said Stafford. I've been stranded in the siding for a long time too, said the lady. Ever since Stepney found his way in here, we've all been stranded due to these faulty points. D199 did something wrong to those points. We're just not sure. Look at all the engines that have derailed, Thomas. Don't worry. Splatter, Dodge, and D199 are all looking for me right now. What about BCE, said Stepney. BCE? Well, he's changed his ways. I told him he could start fresh here. A new life. Something grand. Oh, said Stepney. Changed his ways, did you, Thomas? You're good at doing that. Quite am, but I never got to do it on some diesels. Not to mention Diesel 10, D199, Splatter, Dodge. Oh, don't we know it, said Paxton. If you were persuaded them, wouldn't be here right now. Alright, said Thomas. I'll go get the breakdown train. He went backwards. Spancam raced to find Thomas. He searched every part of the island. He even exposed himself to all the engines. That was D199, said Derek. Yeah, said Bell. What's he doing here? He must have been the stowaway that Thomas was talking about. Stowaway? Ha. I bet you he's been on this railway for a long time. I don't know, said Flynn. Not too many engines know about him. And then, all of a sudden, Splatter and Dodge came down. They went over the three-way switch when all of a sudden BCE came in and knocked him off the rails. Due to the great speed of coming down the hill, they tumbled, fell over. Ah, said Splatter. What was that for? Oops, said BC. Looks like I've changed sides. Grrr, said Dodge. How could you? You were a great person, Steamer. Well, I've changed my ways now. He turned onto the turntable. Now listen up, everybody. This is D19's plan. We must stop it. Thomas brought the breakdown train, and soon enough, with all his might and with some of the other engine's might, he was pulling the whole line of trains out of the Magic Railroad. Every engine had been put back on the rails, but for some reason they couldn't build up enough steam inside the Magic Railroad. As soon as they were on Sodor, each one of them could build steam faster and faster. And soon enough, Lady came out of the Magic Railroad. At Knapford Station, they all diverged into different lines. George and BCE even showed up. Thomas had a plan. There was only one way of stopping D199. His evil and, well, his gold dust, luckily we found that, might run out pretty soon. So, here's the plan. Even before announcing it, Spancam came into Knapford Station. You're in my sights now, Thomas the tank engine. Lady, said Thomas, you ready to do this again? Ready than ever. And she took off right before Thomas did. And Spancam chased after them. You engines stay here. After this, the engines all began to grow nervous, but BCE stood proud. Now, I did betray you before, but now we fight. We fight for your freedom. So, this is the plan that I have. Thomas and the lady picked up speed faster and faster. They had to outrun Spancam. I'll get you now. You won't foil my plans this time. Remember, said Thomas the lady, little engines can do big things, but bigger engines can do bigger things, said Spancam, rushing by. Thomas quickly told his plan to Lady. Lady, turn into a little western line, which they did, as well as Spancam. At the little western line, the plan had already been told to all the diesels, so they created a barrier of diesels to stop Spancam. Lady rushed by Diesel 10, but he didn't even notice Lady, as well as Thomas, and there stood Spancam, racing after them. Hero and Hank had recently been put back on the track. As Thomas and Lady rushed by, Spancam slowed. Betrayed by my own diesels. That so figures. Thomas quickly told Lady his plan as they two rushed by. Lucky enough for them, usually Spancam would be able to catch up to them, but due to all the racing he had been going by so far, his engine was starting to tear and wear. BCE had the plan of removing the barrier so Lady, Thomas, and D199 could all get by. Just then, Thomas remembered something. George, get towards the buffers. He said, get towards the buffers, said BC. I'm getting there, said George, as quick as he could. The two were chased all around the island, even over the viaduct. History will not repeat itself, Lady. Look at the viaduct's in great condition. Finally, Thomas's plan could kick into action as they finally entered the Bay Area. Spancam was running behind. "I'll get you." He was out of breath. BCE stood near the junction as Lady turned and screeched to a halt, as well as Thomas did. "Quickly," he said, "change the points." The points were soon changed as Spancam rolled right into the Magic Railroad. "Whoa," he said, and disappeared. "Lady, quickly. We have to do this fast. Come on, George, you're coming too." So the three of them departed into the Magic Railroad. Span came into the Magic Railroad, diverted into another track, and disappeared into the other railway magic buffers. Meanwhile, Lady, Thomas, and George all came in. "Ugh," said George. "On the tracks. This is not nice." As he touched the ground, "This is much better, but very bumpy." "George, no time to lollygag," said Thomas. "Go destroy those buffers over there." And so George went to... "I'm sorry I have to do this, Lady, but it's the only way we'll get rid of Spancam." "That's okay," said the Lady. Random engines would sometimes go through these buffers, but they had no idea where they were and somehow returned back. George got to work fast. He tried his best to destroy his buffers. Said George. "Just a tad more." Meanwhile, on the other railway, Spancam came racing out of the buffers. He said, "I'll be back." And with that, he went to go turn around. This time, he came charging for the buffers. To find he flipped over. On the other side of the buffers, George had successfully destroyed them. When George, Lady, and Thomas came to the other side of the buffers, they were lavished to find all the engines they had rescued, and BCE there, waiting nervously. "Oh my goodness," said Percy. "Thomas, Lady, George, you did it." "Yeah, we did do it, Lady. We did it. We took on Spancam and beat him in his own game. We did it all together," she said to everybody. Something was growing strong between Thomas and Lady, and they both knew exactly what it was. "Hooray for Thomas," said Paxton. "Hooray for Lady," said Molly. "I can't believe I'm saying this," said Emily, "but hooray for George." "Hooray for all of them," said Percy. With that, he let out a whistle of joy, as well as Stepney, BCE, Molly, and it continued on. Mavis and Paxton let out a horn of relief and of joy to the three heroes of Sodor. Life on Sodor returned as normal, as Stanley gave back Lady's gold dust car. Trains were mused, and Diesel still didn't know a thing about the magic engine of Lady. As well as Splatter and Dodge, well, they were loaded into a freighter to go to a different railway, but one other engine was going to go with them. That engine was BCE. Sir Topham Hatt walked over to him. "You are a really splendid engine," he said to BCE. "I must thank you the most of help stopping Operation Domination. You changed your ways, and that tells a lot about an engine." "Please don't go," said Thomas. "You're such a kind engine, and we could teach you the ways here." "I can't," said BCE. "I'll watch over Splatter and Dodge over on the other railway. I'll teach them the right way." "Don't go," said Percy. "Please." I can't, knowing I was just about to take over this railway." D199 shall never strike again. He is long gone. And as well as he's gone, I'll be gone too. Lady was at the docks too. "It was a pleasure meeting you. You're so kind." All the engines said their farewells as BCE was loaded onto the freighter. "We'll certainly miss you," said Thomas. "Yeah," said Percy. "Come back soon." And soon enough, the freighter took off to the other railway. Well, that concludes our story. Sodor Railway returned to its normal self. And for our number one hero, well, the story of life just keeps getting better and better. Everything must come to an end, even days. And now Thomas must get back home to his friends at In the Sheds.
red and green and brown and blue. They're the useful crew, that's who. All with different roles to play. Round Tidmouth sheds and far away. Now Stanley's joined this friendly pack, but who's this coming down the track? Friends, the list is long, it never ends. James and Percy, Huff and Puff, and Emily, she knows her stuff. Henry, Edward, what a pair. Toby, like I say, he's square. Gordon thunders down the line. Everyone's a friend of mine. That's right. Where small and strong is all the rage. To handle Rusty, Mighty Mac, Fearless Freddy at the back, Rheneas, and then Peter Sam, Scarlowy, Duncan, he's my man. With Mr. Percival in charge, no work's too hard, no job's too large. Yeah, he's my number one. Shining in the morning sun. So Team David's Bertie, the really useful crew. Just engines full of steam, there's Jack and all, he's building team. Tipping stones and digging roads, filling trucks and loading loads. Sir Topham Hatt, he keeps an eye on every engine passing by. Everything is tickety-boo, cause out in front is you know who. It's Thomas.